On Living a Sex Positive Life, we explore all aspects of human sexuality. We talk about the good and the bad, the health and healing benefits, the adventures and the relationships, as well as the crimes and the tragedies. We strive to be an advocate and an empowering force in the fight for sexual freedom. Our mission is to educate, entertain, and talk about the touchy subject that affects us all, sex. Now here's your host, Angelique Luna.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. And I'm here with my co-host, partner in crime, troublemaker, husband, tech guy. I think I covered everything, John C. Luna.
I want to put all that on a business card. I think I might need a bigger, I'll just hand out postcards with the list of things I do on there.
So we have a brand new intro. So hopefully everybody enjoyed the new intro. We are so blessed because it was one of our guests, Goddess Amberly. Dominatrix Financial? Oh, she's going to kill me.
She does a lot of different domination, including financial. But I've heard her, how would you put it? Dominate and degrade, and that girl is good.
Awesome. So tonight we want to welcome back Miss Ruby Johnson, and we're going to be talking tonight about PolyDallas Millennium 2018. Welcome to the show, Ruby.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, definitely. So please explain more what PolyDallas Millennium is about.
PolyDallas, actually, the entire symposium is dedicated to showcasing people of color within the queer, trans, gender queer, sexually fluid, same gender loving, within the community that people do not typically showcase. And so that is basically what we do. And we have our mission and we have our vision on our website. So I'm giving a basic synopsis. And our theme this year is Rewriting the Rules. It is from the book by Meg John Barker. And I'll be happy to talk about that later if you like.
Oh, we would like to talk about everything. You know us. We're always dying for information and learning new things. I mean, girl, you always have something up your sleeve, and we're like, what? Huh? What?
But I do definitely love the topic, rewriting the rules.
Oh, yeah. And then the choices.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the choices that you gave for people to submit their proposal was wow.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, it's all about being provocative and outside of the box, not being afraid to go down roads and, corners and all of those places that people tend to avoid within the sexuality field and within life in general. And so the polyamorous community can be very concerned about how we present ourselves within the public eye because we are under such scrutiny. So giving a platform, giving a community, giving a place where there is freedom of sexual expression, freedom of love styles is, to me, the most beautiful part of PolyDallas.
Oh, yeah, because you literally bring everybody from every walk of life. And I mean, we saw the lineup this year in 2017, and a couple of your presenters were doing Facebook Live. So I'm like trying to catch them because there were some great passionate conversations and some more passionate.
So this current symposium actually was one of the best, I think, in the way of energy, in the way of community. The level of enthusiasm during and after really blew my mind. We even had our first reporter attend the conference or the symposium, and she went to one of the workshops, the one with Marla Stewart from Sex Down South, and it was a write-up in the Dallas Observer, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good one because because we attended Sex Down South last year, and that's a powerhouse. That's awesome.
It was 2 years ago because unfortunately
No,
they
it was
didn't
last
get
year.
Was it last year?
It was last year,
Six
babe.
down south?
Yeah, this year they didn't have it, but they had
That's
it
right.
last year.
That's right.
Yeah, all the conferences are blurring with us. I know that.
Well, I definitely remember being in Atlanta and having a wonderful time there. So,
You were one of 2 white guys.
no, I think there were 5.
Awesome.
But
Come on, we went to Woodhall and we ran into one of the speakers and they say, "Oh yeah, I remember you," pointing to John, but I don't remember you because I'm kind of dark skinned, so I kind of blended with everybody else.
There were only like 10 white people at PolyDallas. And so there were a lot of and it was some clinicians mainly. And so I saw a lot of people do personal blogs about what they learned about themselves. You know, Cunning Minx was there, and she wrote a blog about, you know, the level of impact because it was very impactful last year. And I'm hoping that we have a lot more diversity this year with our speakers, you know, because they're Puerto Rican. We have a young lady who's Muslim speaking about how that works. And so it's just, we have an attorney coming in. So it's going to be really, really dope. I haven't used the word dope in about 15 years.
I think some people might remember that.
hopefully it speaks to our listeners because, yes, dope.
Yes.
Let's see, dope. I'm trying to think of what other words. We could go with fresh. It could be fresh.
Listen to how he said that.
I know, that's why I'm shaking my head in embarrassment. I should have just had that video. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. It was like fresh. You know, it kind of sounds like a sexual stroke or something. Just
because
fresh.
As I'm saying it, I'm actually hearing that about late early's 90s song. Remember? Fresh, she's so fresh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what's going in my head as I say the word, so.
I have the bag of shame from Sylvester Jr., you know? Remember those old Warner Brothers cartoons? It's like, I'm so ashamed. I still love you.
Well, okay. I grew up in New York City in the 80s. And obviously it's a place that is very diverse, but at the same time, the neighborhoods at that point were almost, the line was a definite line of this was the Italian neighborhood, and this was the black neighborhood, and this was the Irish neighborhood, and it was very weird. The high school I went to was predominantly white.
It was an all-boys Catholic school. Who could afford that?
Yeah, well, if I had the choice. And then I also had another school not too far from my house called John Adams High School that, again, was predominantly black. And I just kind of grew up with that. And the whole separation thing was there. It was never, ever a thing, though. But it wasn't until starting to go to these conventions now, again, many, many years later, and you go to something like ASAC or what was the one in D.C.? Woodhall. And again, it's 300 to 500 people. And maybe 3 of them of color, and it was really refreshing doing the opposite. And it by no means was any negative feeling. It was just nice sitting here, like, oh my God, this is what people of color feel like when I was in Atlanta. When I'm the only white person, and I still had. I had a wonderful time. I would go back there in a heartbeat.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
So, let's see. It's coming up in July. And today was the last day for the proposal. So I know you're busy going through all of those. But do we have the hotel and everything set? And
yes, we do. It is at Embassy Suites by Hilton, Dallas, DFW Airport North. Yes, I know that's a big one. And it's in Grapevine. We are, this is the first time we actually went outside of Dallas proper because we couldn't get the price that we got with Embassy Suites. We couldn't find that in Dallas, which makes sense. And so Grapevine, we hired this agency to find a hotel for us, and they found it, and I'm in love with it. It is beautiful. And the hotel rates that we got, $139 a night for a suite.
That is
if you
awesome.
go online, you go online, even, hotels.com has it at $207. So, and we got this price for 3 years because we signed a 3-year contract.
Nice. This is going to be fantastic. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be like a hotel takeover?
I wish.
We can
it is going to be a floor takeover, and we'll talk about that offline. I guess we could talk about it online. So this is kind of what happened at the Crown Plaza. We took over an entire floor. The Crown wanted to make sure that we were all in one space. They were a little concerned, And so Embassy Suites, I told them the same thing. I said, if you can get us all on one floor, that would be awesome. And it would be better for your guests, other guests outside of the hotel. Because even though you tell them to have decorum, our attendees enjoy celebrating. It's going to be a floor takeover.
Well, that sounds good, but being a poly convention, I could imagine it. How would you put it? It's a little less obvious than if you were having a kink or a swinger convention. Yes. Yeah, we can blend in a bit more as poly.
And also, I do want to emphasize, I was being tongue in cheek, but there are misconceptions about what PolyDallas Millennium is. And I heard someone describe the conference this way, the symposium. They described it as the activist symposium. And because there's so many people who are advocates and activists and researchers and et cetera. And so when attendees come, they appreciate that it's not so sexualized. And so, but after 6 o'clock, whatever happens is beyond my control. I'm in my room. So, but we have some wonderful celebrations lined up for after hours for people to be entertained. But I do want to emphasize the symposium is a lot of fun. It's family friendly. We say bring your kids. There's workshops on parenting. One of our presenters is bringing their 3-year-old toddler, I believe. And so I think I want to emphasize that also.
No, that's wonderful. I mean, poly, I think in the last 3 to 5 years, poly has really come much more into the spotlight. And people are, not everyone can come out, but more people are coming out as poly. And it's one of those topics, unlike kink and unlike swinging and other lifestyles, that does affect the whole family. Because bringing another relationship when there's children involved, obviously it's much more complex because it's a life choice. And we know several triads now raising children. And again, our friends have been together many years. We're seeing the real benefits of having more parents, is the best way I can put it. I keep going back to that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And we totally went the opposite way for a while in American society, that, you had your parents and they went off to work, and you had your daycare and you had them for a few hours a day, and it was kind of a very small pool of people raising you. And this just seems like it's becoming more of an option and beneficial to not only the parents but the children, of having a larger support system to raise them.
Yes, and I want to talk about that because that's very, 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 very important point. But there's a book that we're going to have signing. The author is going to be there signing books. It's a brand new book. It's called Polyamory, Coming Out About Your Non-Monogamous Relationships. And so she goes into the cultural aspects, like, for example, my husband is white. I'm black. So he wants to come out and be all happy. His parents are supportive, and et cetera. I'm like, slow your roll, because it's not like that on this side. I have to be a lot more, a little slower, a little gentler. So here's how basically I told my mom. I might have told you this story last time. She worked the symposium, and she also works in my office. She's 70 years old. So she was working the registration table.
Oh, bless her
and
heart.
I think she figured out that I was polyamorous and what the conference was about. And we didn't discuss it afterwards. But she's volunteering again this year, so you get to meet my mama.
Oh,
Awesome.
that's awesome. Brave soul there. That's like, okay, I love you, darling, but we're not going to talk about that, okay?
Yes. And my sister is our money handler, and she's very, very, very monogamous. And so, but the conference has impacted her. And, I hope she doesn't hate me because I'm saying this, but, she's, dipping her toe into it a little bit, and I'm super proud of her.
That's awesome.
Definitely, especially even the big step of dipping the toe. That is room for change. That's openness right there. Okay, that is always a success for me.
Well, for the most part, I can just hope for education and acceptance of it, because it isn't for everyone. Non-monogamy. We used to have a saying that non-monogamy isn't anti-monogamy. We're not against it. We're just, we've tried it and didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to. And we're more suited for, just a different style of relationships.
Yeah, and we actually have a couple of presenters who are going to present on topics for monogamous, specifically for monogamous couples, because just as much emphasis on all love styles. And so that was something that one of our attendees last year said, they said, since you're for all relationships, I don't see anything on heterosexual monogamous relationships. I said, what? I said, oh my goodness, no, there isn't. So that's kind of a different flip from what I usually see at conferences, but it's not that it was intentional. It was that it wasn't on the front of my brain. And I find that very interesting with myself also.
Well, I also see it as a great segue for someone to say, hey, they're having a monogamy session that I'd really like to visit. And then, while we're here, why don't we also go over and just check this out to see what it's about? So
Yes. Yes. Come and stay.
One of the most interesting dynamics I find, and I found it more than once, is a relationship where one partner is monogamous and the other partner is poly.
Yes.
And
we call those mono-poly relationships.
There's a name for it.
Monopoly.
Yes. Monopoly. Yeah. Some people say monopoly, but we try not to do that. Monopoly.
Okay, monopoly, I got that one down. Then, since we're going on definitions, how would you explain the term solo poly?
Solo poly is the individual who doesn't want to have a, basically, I don't want to say a anchor partner because that wouldn't be correct. I would say they don't want to be tied down within one relationship, and they don't want their other relationships to mix, and they want to be on their own. It's not a coupleship. It's not anything like that. They simply want to have relationships where they can be themselves and not have to answer to anyone, and it's none of anybody's business what they do. It's whatever I do in front of this individual right here. And that's the way I understand it to be, unless y'all have a different understanding.
No, I've heard that before. And I always, when someone presented that to me, I'm like, okay, so you're dating. Because it's kind of saying, yes, I'm poly, but I am dating multiple people. I'm not looking for this to move on. It might have, of course, things are fluid. It may change. But I love the crossover between poly and what people do is serial monogamy, because it does cross quite a bit.
Yeah, but at the same time, looking at solo poly, everyone knows about each other versus a cheater or a player, that they're dating several different people, but the other people don't know about each other. So that's where you get the gray line.
True, but if we'll say in a normal vanilla relationship, you say, I'm just openly dating, meaning we go out, we have fun, maybe sex, maybe not, but there's no commitment at that point. It's fun, which sounds a lot closer to what solo poly is defined as.
Yes. They can have committed relationships if they so choose. And when I say committed, I'm going to stop saying that. Actually, I'm removing that out of my vocabulary, because non-committed really isn't a thing, really, if you think about it. Because I'm committed to y'all right now. You know, I committed to be here at a certain time, and I'm following through with my commitment. And once I'm done, my commitment is over. Short term, long term, you know. So I don't know what y'all think about that.
I'm thinking definitions are changing faster than I can keep up.
Absolutely. I mean, what was it? We had someone who was explaining all the different gender vocabulary and because remember I had that argument on Facebook that I offended somebody because I didn't use the right pronoun or verb on a person. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't even know it was changing this quickly, and that's already outdated.
Well, we've had that discussion. We've had discussion on, okay, pansexual versus bisexual. What's the difference? And I've heard people say absolutely none. And I've heard some people say, well, bisexual means you like men and women, and tran isn't exactly talked about. Well, pan means everybody. I'm like, I guess, like I said, with all these definitions changing, I find every region and every group seems to have their own slight variances.
Absolutely. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, there's a lot of conflation with demisexual and pansexual. And then, you know, there is aerosexual. And so there's a whole lot going on there, and it can look like a oversaturation, but what is really happening is folks are finding their identity, and so they feel free, and they create their own language behind it. It's kind of like same gender loving. It was created in the 1960s because black folks wanted to separate themselves from, white. I know this feels so awful. White folks who are same gender loving, and they wanted their own identity because they did not feel that their needs were being met within that community that was all together. So the segregation created a more focused centering of what they need and who they were. Have you heard of same gender loving? Oh, go ahead.
No, gender loving. No, I haven't.
I have, and I just thought it was kind of like a Southern thing, the gender loving, because of the separation of people of color and whites.
So gender loving meaning loving all genders.
Well,
no, same gender loving. SGL.
Yeah.
Same gender loving.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a Southern thing. It was actually started in New York. I'm Googling the guy's name right now. I used to know this stuff by heart, but since menopause set in, it's gone out the window. Let's see. Same gender loving. Here it is under Wikipedia. Cleo Monago. That's the person who identified it. Coined the term.
Yeah, it's interesting how people have changed definitions throughout the years to fit what society is feeling and make them feel better about themselves, I guess. I still don't understand when they change vocabulary that often.
Well, it's usually done with bringing in the political as well as the social feelings of the time. So, going into the transgender, there was a medical term. I'm trying to remember what it was that was used. It wasn't transgender.
Transsexual?
Yeah.
Post-op, pre-op?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, you'll see it on porn sites, but in real life and socializing with people, they're like, yeah, that's a medical term that's no longer used, which a lot of people don't know. I actually want to go back because you mentioned demisexual. I was actually at a poly meeting last week and had someone explain, because I identified as demisexual. I want to hear your definition, and then I want to say what I heard and see if it matches.
This is an individual that needs to know the person more on an intellectual, emotional level, a mental level, before there is sexual activity. There can be, hand-holding and affection, which I consider sexual. However, for it to progress into or escalate into more intimate sexual behaviors, there has to be more than just a casual interaction.
And that is exactly the definition I got. And being the logical-minded person, I'm like, that does explain pretty much the person's, we'll say, mating habits, for lack of a better term, coming to me. But I'm like, so can you blend that with I'm demi-bisexual, I'm demi-straight sexual? It sounded like we'd start putting stuff together to more describe you. And I'm like, that gets long like a business card now.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you with one of my colleagues. It's like 3 sentences. And I'm like, I love them, but I'm going to abbreviate.
That's when you come up with your own abbreviation. That's why I just stick to relationship anarchy. It's just simple. Everything under the weather, that's us. It's relationship anarchy. It's just so much easier. 2 words.
I don't erase anything, but I just condense it because I love them and I want to honor who they are as individuals and be respectful. Yet I have like 5 minutes on the phone call, so we got to do something. So, and I do want to come back around to the creating of language and where this comes from. And it's actually what I just mentioned, which is erasure. There's a lot of communities, ethnicities, tradition, culture that has been erased from history, from existence, starting all the way back to when this country started. And so the colonization has basically just erase any of the texture and narratives and stories. And so people are coming into the forefront saying, okay, I understand how I was colonized. I understand how there's a lot of myths and stereotypes and stigmas attached to how you have told the story about me, and I haven't had the opportunity to tell my own story. And so that's where the language and the creating of language comes from. It comes from wanting to have radical expression, self-expression, plus it goes into I still need to be able to communicate, with language with you. So this is my meaning, and we're now going to have a shared meaning.
Makes sense.
That was heavy. Do you want me to repeat?
No.
Repeat it.
Well, no, I was just thinking about, you're true. It's we do it through society, and we've been doing it throughout history. And the groups that love to do it are the teenagers, because they're the ones trying to find their place in the world, at the same time trying to be completely different from their parents.
And trying to erase history, too, based on their views. And it's, no. I think...
Well, they're learning history at that point.
sometimes. I think the Will and Grace episode, a couple of episodes where Will is trying to educate a millennium about the history of the LGBT gay rights movement. And, instead of just doing the one night stand hookup, he just kept, it's like, oh no, you're getting a history lesson and going over all the fights and things when the kid's like, I don't care. I just want to have sex. So.
Well, I think that's also an impulsive thing of youth. You just want, when you're 18, you just want to have sex. Not that you don't want to at 40-something, but, you need a little more mental stimulation at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So,
tell us more. How did the first, PolyDallas start, and how it's transitioned over the years? Because is this going to be the 2018 going to be the fourth or the fifth one? I was just trying to.
It's going to be the fourth.
The fourth
Okay. One. Yeah, and year number 5 is going to be fantastic. I've already got that planned out right. But anyway, the fourth one, how it started in 2015. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and so part of what I took on as a clinician who's wanting to do and deal with various sexual identities and gender identities, I was hoping to develop a community that was aware of all that was going on. Here in Dallas, it's about 65-70% of the therapists are Christian, and a lot of them refer in the Plano area, refer individuals whom they feel they can't deal with. I've got them from, gay couples, lesbian couples, kink couples, poly couples. They don't want to deal. And so not that every Christian person is like that. It's the ones that refer to me that I'm speaking of. And I decided I'm going to go and do some workshops. I want to do continuing education units for folks who may not be familiar with it. So the first one I had was called Affirming Clinicians Consensual Non-Monogamous Relationships. It was a very cumbersome title. And it was held in my office, and I didn't expect anyone to come. When I put on other workshops, it was just 1 or 2 attendees if it was kink or BDSM. Many people are like, well, I'm not going to ever deal with that client. Why would I want to go to an education about it? And I said, and you'll never deal with that client because you don't go to an education about it. Mm-hmm. And I had 30 people in my little office. It was so hot and so ridiculous. It was me and a colleague, and we did a 6-hour workshop, sweating our butts off.
Oh, wow.
And we did a 6-hour workshop, just 2 people. And then when I did the surveys, they said this cannot be a 6-hour, 1-day workshop. This needs to be over 2 days. So I did that. The second one in 2016 was a day and a half. And then surveys come back, this needs to be longer. So I did 3 days, and this year I'm doing 3 days. That's how it flowed.
Wow. Well, in a way, I do have to respect at least the therapist who say, okay, this is a client I can help, and turning them over to you. Because I've actually heard of therapists that right away assume, well, your problem is poly, and just can't get past that part. Or your problem is the open relationship, and never actually get to the issues when that is just who they are.
Yes, that is very true. But the unfortunate thing is the client cannot, when they contact the people, the therapist, in the first assessment, when they mention anything about relationships, if they say that they're polyamorous, but they didn't even come in there for that. They still refer them over to me. And that's my, it's uncomfortable for the client. It's uncomfortable for the person who may be seeking treatment for the first time and already has a lot of, trepidation about even sharing who they are. And then to have someone refer them to me because, there's polyamory and all kinds of sex stuff about me on the internet. So they think I'm a deviant here in Dallas.
Well, aren't you? My God, look at all the stuff you talk about. Everything's taboo.
I know.
I mean, did you sign all your waivers about your dildos? That it's only used for sex education purposes? Come on.
You don't want to know what my office does. I'm my own HR. I'm my own, I pay myself. I'm not going to fire me. So.
Oh, you're not going to report yourself to the government there that you have more than 3 dildos.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to know what's in my closet. This is a joke for all of the regulatory agencies. I don't really have anything in my closet. Bullshit.
Yes, and for everyone who's not understanding our little inside jokes, please Google YouTube Dildo's Diaries, and you will understand what we are talking about. The legislation laws in Dallas, where you could have as many guns as possible, but only limited, 3 dildos? If you have 6, then you're a serial killer or something. I don't remember. I mean, it was so horrible that SNL made a skit about it. I'm like, oh my God, they know Texas law.
Yeah. And that's been the struggle here in Dallas, because I look at, conferences like Sex Down South. The first year, 300 attendees, second year, 400 attendees. I'm like, oh my gosh, Atlanta is the black Mecca, of course, but here in Dallas, they've had so many attempts on, sexuality events being here. And it's just not the community's thing until PolyDallas. And we're getting on the map now. We have Woodhull coming in to partner with us on doing a, town hall on sexual violence. And so there is a lot more momentum coming about because, we're still very small. When you come to see us, we're still, about 150 to 200 attendees. It's very small, very intimate. Mm-hmm. But we started at 30. So
it is just good to see that continual growth.
Right, but I'm almost thinking that maybe this year it might kind of double the way she's really promoting it and getting out there and getting the word out about PolyDallas. So don't be surprised.
That's what people keep telling me. That's what people keep telling me. I mean, we have some wonderful speakers coming. Somebody from England, Canada. We're now international. So.
Oh, yeah, you're going double for sure, because that even happened to Florida Power Exchange. They moved to a bigger hotel, and they even outgrew the new hotel their first year there. And they have a 3-year commitment, too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I hope it does happen.
Yeah. I think that's going to happen to you, so get ready to negotiate another floor here. Just in case. I mean, we've already had you twice, so twice on, the radar from our audience. They already know. July 13th, PolyDallas, got to go. Oh, that will be our 6-year anniversary.
Actually, you're right.
So, yes, we'll be celebrating our 6-year anniversary at PolyDallas.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. We have to do something special. Got to add something else to my list.
Yeah, I made sure we got married on Friday the 13th. I'm like, I'm doing this and we're doing it right. Friday the 13th, man.
Okay, well, the wedding does have to, I'll make this short, though. We ended up eloping in Vegas. And the line I will say is, we got married on a boat in the desert on Friday the 13th, and not realizing it, my wife was wearing blue suede shoes.
It was a complete accident, I swear to you, because I wanted to make sure I had everything ready to, when we went to Vegas, I didn't have to go shopping for anything. I already had everything with me. So I panic at the store. I'm like, it's July. You're supposed to have some white shoes here in Orlando. Come on, we're friggin' Orlando. And I started going down, the traditional something borrow, something new, something blue. So I'm like, okay, blue. So I found these comfortable blue suede shoes. And again, panic attack, not paying attention to what I'm doing. I just said, okay, I got everything. We're going to go and have fun. It wasn't until my bestie and maid of honor said, really? We're in Vegas and you had to get blue suede shoes? I'm like, crap. Literally a week. A week it took me to realize that.
Oh, my goodness.
So with having families and kids there, so are you going to also have like little kids activity center there, or daycare, babysitters? How is that going to work?
Well, due to liability reasons under my insurance for my event, I cannot have a daycare or anything like that. So I do let parents know that they're responsible for their kids. We do not provide child care based upon regulations. So, yeah.
Okay. No, it's good to know. Because I was just thinking, like, how the adults have their little activities. I just thought there's going to be like an activity room or something for the kids to do. But no, that makes sense with the liability.
Give that another year or two.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, 300 families show up.
Sorry,
keep your.
Yeah, I'm thinking Florida Power Exchange, where they had a whole room dedicated to the littles.
Those are different littles.
Right, I know, but I just thought the same thing for PolyDallas, since it was family friendly. Have a local daycare be a sponsor of hey, we're providing childcare or something. So I mean, that's kind of good advertising as a sponsor. Just throwing it out there.
Well, one of our volunteers is a nanny of 25 years, so that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. She has to have a side hustle. Come on. Girl got to make some money if she's volunteering. Just putting it out there, ladies.
What she does is none of my business. So.
Yep. It's like that. Here's your extracurriculum activities. It's like mom and dad could go here, and the kids could go there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I think you're also going to have some shows, some adult shows there, burlesque or poet night.
Yeah, we had burlesque last year. This year we're doing a little more intimate entertainment. We have Kit Kat, who's with Burlesque Erotique, which is out of Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'll make sure I got the city right. And she's working with Diana, who's here, and she is half owner of Lifestyle Unlimited. So Lifestyle Unlimited is one of the largest black swing organizations. And so they're going to coordinate together, and they're doing all of the entertainment. I don't know what they're going to do. I just said, don't get me charged with anything, and I'm okay. So there's going to be some wonderful events. Wonderful. I'm not going to announce them here, but just if you have anything, sexy or anything, any instruments or anything you want to bring, they'll probably be used. Highly.
We may have one or two things we're thinking of. No promises.
Okay, so that means we're driving now, because we're not going to be able to bring it on the plane here.
Yeah, so there is one event that is very exclusive that's going to be in my suite, and then we have another event that's going to be more open, going to happen in another suite, and we have people who can go to a local swing club. We have we have two local swing clubs that we're partnering with, and I think that's it. And then you have access to wineries, and there's little bars around. So it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, Grapevine is a nice little area there. I'm very familiar because I have a friend that lives up in Frisco, so we've been so we're familiarized with the Dallas airport area. So, and that's
cool.
grown quite a bit. So it's going to be kind of interesting to tell our vanilla friends, "Hey, we're in town, but you can't join us."
Okay.
No, we'll invite them anyway. No.
Well, yeah, we did. Yeah, but I try to convert her to the dark side. She still says no, but I'm like, okay, fine.
Are they curious about anything?
Here's the funny thing. I fully believe that they are in an open marriage, but she's old school. She's born and raised in Mexico. We've been friends for over 24 years. We met down here on the Disney College program. Her husband was Mormon, and when they got married, the only line she ever told me, it's like, just no babies. That's it. You can do whatever you want, just no babies. I'm like, you guys have an open policy, because he's a pilot, so he's always on the road. So, but she hasn't confessed to me. I almost think she is. But I know she's straight as a board, because I was there a couple of months ago earlier this year, and I took one of my other bisexual girlfriends with us, and she was hitting on her, and she freaked out. She's like, no! And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You're friggin' hot. What the hell? Come on. Let's do your college years experiment in your 40s. It's all good.
I have a thing for, one of my partners is, I have a Puerto Rican young lady and two Puerto Rican young ladies. Oh, we're on a show. Hello.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my girlfriend...
That was...
she has the hips to... yeah. She has those Mexican hips. Oh, that's all I could say.
Yeah. I have... I'm thinking of having workshops that are in Spanish. Because there is a huge community here, but there is segregated once again because of language. True. And I have a couple of people that are willing to do workshops for me in Spanish. And I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know if you speak Spanish.
She does.
Oh, I do. And I do a couple workshops here in Orlando, translating. So, but it's always so comical because it's different Spanish because we have a strong Puerto Rican and Cuban market here and Dominican Republic, so I always have to double check when I do my presentations. Okay, does this word really mean that word, or am I offending somebody, or am I saying something completely different that is not the same meaning? See, but at least over there it's predominantly, I guess, a lot more Mexican Spanish versus the Caribbean Spanish that we have over here.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Well, the other thing is, as most people learn their language, like you with the second language, you learned it from home. So you know all the words, you can do. We've had comments, your Spanish is great, but you're not immersed in the culture where you know the medical terms and what the newest updated terms are. So occasionally we've gotten people like kind of correcting you from the audience going, I think you mean this. Yeah.
I'm like, this is what I learned. Yeah, because I took a Planned Parenthood Spanish, how to teach sex ed in Spanish, and it was, again, the debate of how do you say that between a Dominican Republican, a Cuban, a Puerto Rican, a Guatemala girl, and myself. So there's 5 different countries saying 5 different words for the same body part anatomy.
Wow. Wow. That is a huge assumption, and I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Thank you for educating me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Because there is, and that's something that is very, very important when we want to do these types of things, is making sure that we work with someone like you or work with someone who's very aware. I'm not saying just like you, but you just taught me a whole lot in that 2 minutes that we just had that conversation. Because I may be, black activist, but I just speak Southern Texas language. So.
No, agreed, because, I'm northern Chicago, so yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that I've been living here in the South for 20 some odd years, that I could tell the difference in vocabulary. Just even here in the States is one thing, but when you start throwing different cultures and different Spanish, I mean, I remember when I first discovered that language barrier, which is, it's Spanish, the same thing, was when I first moved down to Florida, because there was a word that I used in Mexican Spanish was to beat somebody up, because I was so pissed and angry at the person. I'm like, I want to kick the shit out of him, which in Puerto Rican Spanish meant I wanted to fuck the shit out of him. That I just want to fuck his brains good. And I'm like, no, that's not what I meant.
Wow.
Yeah, and no one corrected me until this cute little 18-year-old boy was like, Miss Angelique, do you know what you just said? And I'm like, what? I'm like, I almost killed the older guys. I'm like, you let me say this for how long? It's like, oh, we thought you knew. And I'm like, no, I didn't.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, there's a heads up for your Spanish class.
And, the thing is, I've had to explain to Americans, they're like, oh, Spanish is Spanish. And I have, obviously, if you ever heard a Cuban, a Puerto Rican, and a Mexican talk, and then someone from Spain, it is very different. And I kind of broke it down to, okay, you're going to get a native New Yorker, a Texan, and someone from Anaheim, Valley Girl, all in the same room. Is that the same language? And then they're like, oh my God, no.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You forgot volume control on the different countries, too.
Are you saying us New Yorkers are loud? Well, no, I can't even take offense to that. No, I can't.
You can't, but you have the Mexican Speedy Gonzalez, then you have the hands-on Puerto Rican, just kind of monotone. The Spaniard is kind of like very low, very quiet as a mouse, and the Cubano is like, yeah. So, what else should people know about PolyDallas? Because our time's almost up, but we've talked everything possible, but yeah, this is really, we're trying to grow your attendance.
And the thing is, I'm thinking about this conversation that we just had, and it's similar to what PolyDallas is going to be. It's like three folks having a sit down, in the living room, and just, sexing out, sexing out. And that's basically what it is. And it's with a whole lot of love and a whole lot of character. And I'm just hoping that individuals would come and enjoy coming to my house. That's what I say. My mom, when you come to her house, everybody gets fed. And it's the kind of same mentality that I have.
Oh, yeah, I think that's any ethnic parent there, because I know in my household, it's like, no, you got to eat. You're too skinny. And I'm like, what? I just ate. It's like... And then John has the same problem because he's Italian. And it's like, yeah, no, you haven't eaten enough. I was like, what was that first Easter? We brought over my family and they kind of freaked out because your mom had like a 5-course meal.
Yes, she did. She did.
I didn't know you were Italian.
Yes, I am.
I didn't know you were Italian. Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so you have the purebred Italian, the purebred Mexican with a half-bred child.
Well, the really funny part of getting our families together was obviously the Mexican side, everything has a tortilla in it, which to my side of the family is like, so everything's tacos. And I'm like, no, everything's different. And from their side of the family, it was, it's spaghetti. And it's like, no, there's spaghetti, there's linguine, there's rigatoni, there's, the whole bit. And it was just funny, the stereotypes of them looking at each other like, all you guys do is eat pasta, and all you guys do is eat tacos. I'm like, there's a lot more than that to our cooking.
I just want to be, when y'all all combine together and cook all the things, just invite me. I won't take up much space, because that's going to be awesome. Oh, that just sounds beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's why we do Thanksgiving all together, because you have a little mix of everything. So, which was so funny because I grew up in Chicago and I grew up in a predominantly Latin neighborhood. So of course we had the American turkey, but then all the other Spanish ingredients. The rice, the tamales, the gandules, all the different stuff. That it wasn't until I moved out to the suburbs that I realized there's these things called mashed potatoes, stuffing, and pie. I'm like, what's all this about? Where's the rice? Where's the tamales? So I think you had the same problem, didn't you? Because you always had pasta with turkey, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. It took me a while to realize, as part of being Italian, or at least just my household, there was pasta with everything. And I thought about it for a while. I'm like, yeah, even when we went to have a barbecue, there was macaroni salad. Oh my God, there was pasta everywhere.
So, Ruby, where could everyone find you? Because our time is up and we had so much fun, as always.
Yes. They can find me, the symposium, at www.PolyDallasMillennium.com, or on Instagram at PolyDallas MILL, Twitter at PolyDallas, and on Tumblr at PolyDallas, and Facebook, PolyDallas. Keep it simple.
Definitely, so that way they can find and sign up. Registration's opening soon, I think it was. I wasn't sure if it's already open.
Registration is open tonight.
Okay.
At 10 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Ooh, we're kicking
There's a couple of
off.
things that I need to do.
Yeah, that's why I picked the date. I'm like, okay, November 15th, everything's launching. At last proposal.
There are no coincidences.
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah.
I'm always plotting to take over the world with sex.
And number one I want to say is I want to thank you and John for just, Angelique, it's just been wonderful having the level of support and love that y'all have extended to my mission, our mission. I always say my a lot because I started this out, but it's our deal. PolyDallas is a team, and I want to thank y'all so much. And so because I'm thanking y'all, I would like to pay for your plane ticket, your registration, and your hotel when you come to PolyDallas.
I don't know what to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to pick up my jaw right now. I'm like, what? What? Thank you. I mean, no, greatly appreciate that. But it's just, this is just part of our mission. And this is one of our missions that I think we even changed our mission statement to, like, we advocate and empower people for their sexual freedom, because everyone needs to have options and know that this is part of your life, and there's resources and people to support you and educate you and help you. And wow, I'm deeply grateful. Yes.
You're welcome. We pay it forward. We're all family. We're all in this together. I'm not a big scarcity model person, and I don't think y'all are either. So thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, now I lost my track of closing because I'm like... All right, okay. It's like Zen, back in focus there. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. You can find me everywhere on LivingASexPositiveLife.com, on social media. I also wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor, Kink Great, who is giving our November giveaway, which you can find on our blog page on Living a Sex Positive Life, Facebook giveaway. Enter to win their latest toy and creation, which I'm trying to pull up here. I'm
Well,
bad.
I don't know the latest, but I've gotten the last two, and I have been most satisfied with it.
Yeah, this time around they're not doing a box. They're actually doing... Go with your thing while I find it out. John C. Luna.
You just love throwing the C in there all the time. I love it. But No, the last 2 months, King Crate is a monthly service that, for a reasonable fee, will send you a box or something filled with a bunch of smaller products to explore perhaps something new sexual in the bedroom. Whether you're monogamous or non-monogamous, it doesn't make a difference. 1 month they sent us a rope kit with instructions and a nice little log and stickers. And what I love is they always include candy, because everyone loves getting candy in the mail. And last month they actually had one on medical play, which was very interesting. Little doctors get up, and so you can play nurse and doctor and all that fun stuff, and had some other toys in there. So have you found it?
Yes, I did. So this month's giveaway from King Crate is a metal tickler, vibrating C-ring, whip bind scratch tickets, and 2 sample packets of the Butters Lube. So it's a little of their stuff that you could purchase from their website. So they like to switch it up so that way you guys know it's not just only the subscription box, but a la carte merchandise can be purchased from their website at kingcrate.com.
And it's really nice because if you go ahead and look, and let's say it's a new lube or a toy, sometimes these things are not inexpensive. I know we're lately seeing vibrators going up between $100 and $300 for a toy. So it's nice to get this little sample of, we're interested in it, maybe we want to play with it, you do a little exploration, and then if you like it, there's more products to go, and if you don't, well, put that aside for later and wait for next month.
So we appreciate you to enter in the contest because that supports us, that supports King Crate. Please visit our sponsor page on LivingASexPositiveLife.com, sponsors. And
I want to throw one more out there, and that is our other sponsor, which is the Woodshed in Orlando. They are having a shopping extravaganza.
You can tell where his mind's at.
Yes. This Saturday coming up, so if you're in the Orlando area, I believe it goes from like 3 to 8 p.m., and they're going to be having vendors from all over the Florida, and I think some are coming down from Georgia.
All over. They're actually
to
from
vend.
South. Yeah.
So it's toys, it's products. I'm hoping to get a kilt. So we'll see. Lately, I keep seeing all the kilts walking around. I'm like, yeah, I'm brave enough now. I got the calves. I can do that. So if you do want to reach me, I am John C. Luna on Facebook, Twitter, and FetLife. Please drop us a line and say hi and just let us know how we're doing and how you like the show or not.
Thanks, everyone. Let's see you soon.
Have a good night.
Good night.